All right, here we go. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah, inshallah. Right now, we're going to be doing Duaa al-istiftah. Now, Duaa al-istiftah, of course, yesterday we did all those du'as in relationship to adhan. So now we're starting with Duaa al-istiftah. Duaa al-istiftah, just from the name, remember in Lugha Arabiya, you would basically see that it's a language that is based on conjugation. So you're basically going back to a root, and then this root, it grows, and a ziyada fil mabani, ziyadatun fil maani. And every single increase in the actual conjugation in a verb or in a word in the root is basically giving it additional meaning. And of course, the reason why I'm saying that is because we want to see the word al-istiftah. Al-istiftah, of course, the root is fataha. That's the root, fataha, and which actually means to open or opened. And the alif sin ta would mean to request. So what they're requesting, what we're doing is requesting a grand opening. So that's, after the adhan, you're taking the moment to ask for a grand opening. You're asking for a great key. That's the word, the great key to help bring in this magic key to open all the doors that are closed, whether we're speaking about a closed heart or a closed mind or a closed soul, or perhaps even just different areas that might be closed due to our sin. So we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to open the doors of mercy, open the doors of forgiveness, open the doors of our du'as being answered, and the list goes on and on. Okay, so that's right there. Allahumma ba'id bayni. So we're going to start right there. Let's see. Right there, supplication at the start of the prayer after takbir. Now, here they said al-istiftah to mean at the start of the prayer. So yes and no. So al-istiftah is usually at the start of the prayer. That is the sunnah, to start dua al-istiftah when right after takbir. Right after you do takbirat al-ihram, to do it. But is it exclusive to that time? The answer is no. It's not exclusive to that time. It is actually inclusive to being recited at different times, different situations, and the list goes on and on. And we're going to see by looking at the meanings and reciting the dua, how it actually contains the key to connecting us with, number one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's essence, two, submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and three, recognizing the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, let's start with a dua. Allahumma, oh, I actually wanted to do another page. Hold on. That one is easier for you. Okay, here we go. Allahumma ba'id, and I'm going to highlight it for you right there. Okay, Allahumma ba'id bayni. And right there, so you could see it. I'll do the Arabic one right here. Allahumma ba'id bayni wa bayna khatayaya كما باعدت بين المشرق والمغرب. اللهم نقني من خطاياي كما ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. اللهم اغسلني من خطاياي بالثلج والماء والبرد. Let's see in English. Oh Allah, distance me from my sins, just as you had distanced the east from the west. O Allah, purify me of my sins as a white robe is purified of filth. O Allah, cleanse me of my sins with snow, water, and ice. So, I don't know. The English language is still not giving it the sense that I would find in Arabic. Let's see. Allahumma ba'id. So we know Allahumma actually is an abbreviation. Ya Allah, you're making the dua. Ba'id. What is ba'id? Ba'id, it comes from the root ba'uda. The word ba'uda means to keep distance, but ba'id, in other words, you put in the force, you put in the power. So that alif right there is actually asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to invest, to put in, to be the main potential, to bring a distance between myself, between you and I, and but of course between myself and between our sins. Now, the word khati'ah is the root. Khata'a is the root, sorry. So khata'a is basically a sin that one might commit. But there's a difference between khata'a or al-khati'ah, in between al-ithm, in between al-ma'siyah, or between al-junha. Okay? All of those in English, they would just use the word sin. But in Arabic, which is a very intricate language, there's actually a slight difference in how it classifies by looking at the implication of that. So when you're looking at al-khati'ah, it's basically a transgression that was a wrong transgression. So now it's looking at it from that angle point of the person crossing the boundary. Okay, when you look at it then, but for example, it's looking at the implication and how it's taking and dragging the person back. When you're looking at al-ithm, al-ithm would basically look at it from the angle of that affecting the person and affecting them spiritually. Okay, so when you're looking at al-khataya, my sins, what is the inference? The inference is that these are my sins. I recognize that they are things that I had committed. I recognize that I am in full, let's use the word confession. I'm in full confession that I am responsible for these transgressions. So this is what the word khataya would contain in terms of inference. They're sins I had committed. They're basically my responsibility, but still, I would like that you would be the main power to keep the distance between me and my sin, its implication, its accountability, the accountability in regards to it, as you had distanced between the East and the West. I want you to look at between the East and the West, and why did it say distance between the East and the West? Remember in math, we would talk about certain lines, if they're in certain areas, they could never meet. Okay. So when you say east and west, and well, unless it's a circle, or a sphere, it's a different story. But when you're talking about east and west, each one is going in a different angle. Each one is going in a different area. Okay. And this is very common in the Quran or in the Hadith, where it's connecting you to visualizing the matter that it wants you to relate to. So using simile, using metaphors to help you see and visualize the distance, or help you visualize the comparison, or help you visualize the different matters and the different paradigms for you to see it. For example, لا يستوي الأعمى والبصير ولا الظلمات ولا الحرور. It would basically give you ولا الظل ولا الظلمات ولا النور, etc. It would give you these comparisons that, hey, there's no comparison, and see the paradigm right there. So when it tells you كما باعدت بين المشرق والمغرب, the same way that you had created such a distance between the East and the West, make that distance where they would never meet, that is myself and the implication of my sin. Allahumma naqqini min khatayai. What is naqqini? Allahumma naqqini. The word tanqiyah, think of a white garment. If you were to have a white garment, why white? Because it's a lot easier to spot, let's say, a stain on a white garment. You're easier to spot it on a white garment than on a colored garment. Why? Because it just blends with it and you can't really tell where it's at. So when you say naqqini, you're saying, Ya Allah, You are the one that's spotting all these stains. Ya Allah, wherever you spot these stains, metaphorically, the sins, the transgressions, Ya Allah, wipe it away, wash it away, completely take it away where it basically leaves no stain behind it. This is all metaphorical.
What's the root?
Naqiya is the root.
Okay, jazakallah.
The word naqiya can mean to purify. The word naqiya could also mean to classify. Okay. So when you're doing classification, you're basically separating things and creating a distance between them. So that's why when you say naqiya, it can mean to classify, it could also mean to purify. So in either way, we're going to see why the word naqiya was used, and that's why كما ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. Now look at that one. The way that you would purify a white garment from the contaminations. The way that you would purify a white garment from the contaminations, that is to say what? Well, that's basically the same way when we had said that a white garment, you would get a stain on it and it would stand out and you could see it. Allahumma ghsilni min khatayai. Now, here comes the meaning of classification. Ya Allah, wash me from my sins. Is this literally to wash, or is this metaphorically to keep away because the sin, كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون. And the Prophet ﷺ, well, that ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said that verily what affected their heart is basically the behavior, the deeds, the different habits that they had done. That's what affected them. So when you look at Allahumma ghsilni min khatayai, it's giving the inference that sin has an effect not only on your heart, but even on your appearance, even on your body, even on your mind. So the inference in it, if you're saying, wash me from my sins and wash my sins away, that's in order to let us know, think of patterns, think of all the different things, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet the words are really intricate and they're very detailed. So it's wahi. So that is to give us the inference that a sin has more effect and a more influence on you than what you would usually think of. You would usually think of just the part about deeds and probably affecting you on a scale, and that's it. We would never think of that, no, it has an influence on, hey, what do you wash from? You wash from different germs, you wash from different things that are disrupting your appearance, etc. So that the contaminations would have an effect on your health. They would have an effect on your mind. They would have an effect also on your heart, and the list goes on and on. And they would even have an effect on your appearance as well. So when you say Allahumma ghsilni min khatayai, you're saying, Ya Allah, the implication of sin that's affecting my heart, that's affecting my health, that's affecting my mental health, that's affecting my appearance and taking away the nur, and that's affecting me entirely and probably affecting my progress in this world. Because it's affecting me, Ya Allah, wash it off completely. Wash it off and do not let there be any remains of any of the implications of sin that I had committed. How? How would you want it to be washed off? He said, بالثلج والماء والبرد. What is الثلج? الثلج is snow. I don't want to be getting cold. بالثلج with snow. You want me to wash the deeds with snow? Why can't we just say warm water? Matt, water, and hail? Why using those? Because sin actually has a certain heat on the body. The sin would have a certain heat on the body, so you're cooling off that effect of sin, whether in this dunya or in the akhirah, to basically keep you away from the implication of sin and to keep away the heat of sin away from you. So you're taking in, to say, with snow, water, and hail, in order to take away the heat of that sin and to keep me clean and to keep me away from sin. To move forward, so how did they? Yeah, so we did that one. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. This is the most famous دعاء الاستفتاح. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك here we go. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. Let's see the English translation. How perfect you are, O Allah, and I praise you. Blessed be your name, and lofty is your position, and none has the right to be worshipped except you. I can't actually translate it better than that. That's excellent. So how perfect you are, O Allah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Now, when you look at Subhanaka, remember, you're basically considering that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the center of all things, and therefore nothing is compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, nothing is compared to what? Nothing is compared to what He is to be praised for. So nothing compares Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, and nothing compares Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in what good He brings to the universe, what good He brings to you, and what good He brings to your life. So you're saying that, yes, yesterday I had a question. The question was coming from UK, but she seems troubled. Maybe she's Sudani, but she seemed very troubled. And she said, if somebody had committed genocides and then they would become Muslim, and then what would happen to the victims? How are we going to compensate the victims? What's going to happen? And I said, well, al-Islam yajubu ma qablah. Islam removes the sin from basically the person once they announce their Islam. She said, what if it's a Muslim? Is the sin going to be removed as well? I said, if they're capable of compensating the victims, that would be great. They should be compensating if they're capable of compensating the victims. What if they can't? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy that's why we would make the dua. Remember, when we would make the dua and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we would right there, let's look at that dua right there. And part of the dua, we would say, we would basically ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever we would have any debt, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would pay it off for us. Which dua is that? Okay, we would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pay off our debt if we have any debt. That's the kind of debt that we would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to pay it off on behalf of us, because we may not, here we go, وَلَا دَيْنًا إِلَّا قَضَيْتَهُ. That's the debt. Sometimes we might have wronged some people and we don't have probably the money, we don't have maybe the ability to compensate others for the different things that we had wronged people in. So we would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to compensate on behalf of us. So in that situation, if the person is capable of compensating, then therefore they should be compensating. But if they're not capable of compensating, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now for the victims, she was concerned about the victims, that, hey, they would like to see those that had wronged them be held accountable. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the victims, وَمَنْ قُتِلَ مَظْلُومًا فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا فَلَا يُسْرِفْ فِي الْقَتْلِ إِنَّهُ كَانَ مَنْصُورًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, whoever was killed in an oppressive manner, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give not only them, but would give even their guardians a compensation. What kind of a compensation? Sultana, an authority, a
يا
compensation,
رب يا رب إني قصدي
power.
يا رب.
فلا يسرف في القتل. That compensation, that authority is going to be so magnificent that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning that person and saying, فلا يسرف في القتل. What does that mean? Do not abuse that power that you will be given, because it will definitely be something very, what is the word that I could use? Something very tempting to seek revenge.
فين
And even go more than the revenge that you are given, basically, the right to seek justice in. Perhaps your anger is surpassing.
is it
But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا يُسْرِفْ فِي الْقَتْلِ. You will be given victory. And that's why when we're speaking about the victims, many victims would feel they're in trauma. And what am I going to do about the trauma and the PTSD and all of that? We will say, wait a minute. If you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Jabbar, is Al-Qawi, is Al-Adil, then you would know that you will be given your compensation, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never let injustice prevail. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the justice, will give you the compensation. So if you wronged somebody, and you just didn't know how to compensate them because you probably don't have the money, you probably even didn't know that you had wronged somebody, you didn't mean it. You were driving and you probably stepped on something and you broke their glasses, or you didn't even know. Yesterday I was basically walking and then I stepped on a girl's glasses, unfortunately, and broke it. I didn't mean it, but I still have to compensate. You didn't mean it, but you still have to compensate.
is it same case
I-
of Wahshi
Well, I mean, yes,
genocide?
I mean, you can include al-Wahshi, but al-Wahshi had other ayat that were basically revealed on his behalf. Okay, because وَمَنْ قُتِلَ مَظْلُومًا, that I don't think, as far as I remember, that was not the sabab al-nuzul. It wasn't for Wahshi, as far as I remember. I would have to research, and I would have to go back to the tafsir and really search. But as far as I remember, it wasn't for Wahshi. But
يعني the Prophet ﷺ asked him not to show him his face for not remember what he did with his uncle.
Was it for this ayah?
Not about you
Not
when
this
you
ayah.
about genocide.
Right, I think
in case
right.
of
The ayah that was revealed in regards to Wahshi is a different ayah. Right now, it's not actually coming to my mind. It's not, the exact ayah, but inshallah, I'll remember it. So just keep that one in mind, that, hey, what if I cannot compensate? And what happens to the victims? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is letting you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate you. And what happens to the perpetrators? The perpetrators, I just want to feel that they too are feeling the pains that I'm feeling, etc. All of that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will compensate you. Your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the most just is that area of focus. So don't focus at that moment on your pains and how the perpetrator managed to basically overcome you and put all the pain in you, etc., and focus that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of giving you the compensation. Okay. وَتَبَارَكَ اسْمُكَ. تَبَارَكَ اسْمُكَ, that basically Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name is basically full. When we say tabaraka, the word comes from baraka. Okay. When you look at the word baraka, yes, it has several meanings. Baraka could mean to instill in a specific place. So when we say baraka, for example, the camel barak, which actually means it completely sat, and it's mesmerizing in that area. Well, at least it's staying in a certain place and nothing could move it. It's just stuck there. It's so steadfast. Okay. Now, tabarak, in the the steadfastness, the power, it is so strong, it is so deeply rooted that it is mesmerizing and basically going beyond all in the blessings and in what it contains. What is it? It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name brings all the good because it is deeply rooted in what makes every good thing in this world. What makes every good thing in this world. So we would say, Tabarak asmuk. All things would basically bring the whether it's the good, the life, whatever it is, it's basically coming from the deeply rooted power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is where blessings would come from. Tabarak asmuk. Your name is basically what brings every good in this world, is what brings every power in this world. Nothing matches your power, nothing matches your name. وَتَعَالَى جَدُّكَ.
Aren't we supposed to, we're supposed to say this before we pray, right? Or do we say it after Allahu Akbar?
After Allahu Akbar, after Takbirat al-Ihram.
Okay,
You say
I need to
Takbirat
get
al-Ihram and then you do it.
different imam, because every time I want to say it, they already start on the Fatiha.
That's okay. That's okay. Just
You can
wait.
still say it?
Yep, that's okay.
Okay, just like Allah.
وَتَعَالَى جَدُّكَ. Ta'ala means it went beyond all. Jadduk is basically the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing matches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power. وَلَا إِلَهَ غَيْرُكَ. And there's no deity and no other God other than you. So what is that saying? When you're looking at the word ilah, it's different than the word Rabb. Okay? The word Rabb, even though it means the same thing in terms of there's only one God, okay? But the word Rabb is looking at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the angle as the one that's taking care of the matters, as the Lord. But when you're looking at an ilah, scholars had differences of opinions on whether ilah, the word ali, is it ilah, is it jamid or mushtaq? What does that mean? So the word ilah, is it derived from a certain root, or is it in itself actually the root? And why does it matter? Well, it matters because if you're saying that it is the noun, and therefore not derived from the root, you're actually saying that the word itself, it just refers to a deity, and that's basically it. It just refers to a deity, which is something that people would turn to in worship. But if you were to say that it was mushtaq to mean that it has a root, then they would say, well, okay, well, what root are we talking about? Are we talking about aliha? Or are we talking about waliha? And what root are we talking about? So what's the difference? Because waliha would actually mean that it comes from the root, the one that people would turn to in love, in connection. And if you were to say another root, it would mean to be as holy. Okay? To be
How
as
beautiful.
very beautiful. You know what? And you can connect to all of them. It's like, well, the one that people would turn to in love, the one that people would turn to in seeking security, etc. And isn't that anyways what a God is? The whole idea, the whole concept, and the whole idea of God, deity, Dio, whatever word that you would use in whatever language, they would basically mean by it that it's the supreme being out there that's controlling existence, that's controlling life, that's controlling the world that we see. And that's why you would say, for example, somebody that might be a Christian, a Hindu, and whenever they would, I guess, connect with Allah Almighty or connect with recognizing the essence of Allah Almighty, they would go in tears. But then their ibadah has gone wrong. So they would connect in tears, recognizing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Khaliq, that He's the creator, that He's the one that controls the world, that controls, hey, whenever I'm in need. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was asking them and letting them ask themselves, well, who's the one that created everything? Who's the one? أَمَّا يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. Who's the one that is answering your prayer? Who's the one that's giving you whenever you're ever in need and you're seeking security? And they would say, well, Allah. And He's like, well, doesn't that ring a bell? If you recognize that it's Allah, the Dio, the deity, the supreme being, shouldn't you turn to that supreme being in worship then? That's the whole idea. So even a person that is not Muslim, they would recognize, that's what the Prophet ﷺ said, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Every single person is born with a pure instinct. But the society فَأَبَوَاهُ يَهَوِّدَانِهِ أَوْ يُمَجِّسَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانِهِ. But his parents would either make him a Jew, make him a Christian, or make him a giant. So when you look at that, that's basically telling us that deep on the inside, we actually have that the connection.
Can you
with
repeat that? كل مو...
كل مولود. I'll write it down. Okay. كل. Yep, I'll write it down, Noura. Okay, here we go. Or maybe, you know what? Why don't I give you the best? كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. Here we go. Okay, here we go. This is it. And there we go. This is it. كل مولود يولد على الفطرة فأبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. There you go. Okay. All right, let's go back. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا إله غيرك. Okay, should we do this one? We'll do this one, and that would be the end for today. وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين. Here it is in English right there. Okay. وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين. إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا من المسلمين. اللهم أنت الملك لا إله إلا أنت. أنت ربي وأنا عبدك ظلمت نفسي واعترفت بذنبي فاغفر لي ذنوبي جميعا إنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت واهدني لأحسن الأخلاق لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت واصرف عني سيئها لا يصرف عني سيئها إلا أنت. لبيك وسعديك والخير كله بيديك والشر ليس إليك أنا بك وإليك تباركت وتعاليت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Let's see. I have turned my face sincerely towards He who has brought forth the heavens and the earth, and I am not one of those who associate partners with Allah. Indeed, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are for Allah, Lord of the worlds. No partner has He. With this, I am commanded, and I am of the Muslims. O Allah, you are the sovereign. None has the right to be worshipped except you. You are my Lord, and I am your servant. I have wronged my own soul, and I have acknowledged my sin. So forgive me all my sins, for no one forgives sins except you. Guide me to the best of characters, for none can guide to it other than you. And deliver me from the worst of characters, for none can deliver me from it other than you. Here I am, in answer to your call, happy to serve you. All good is within your hands, and evil does not stem from you. I exist by your will and will return to you. Blessed and high are you, and I seek your forgiveness and repent unto you. Okay, I think I need to break it down a little bit. وَجَّهْتُ وَجْهِي. What is وَجَّهْت? Here it says, I have turned my face. Let me just say, when we're talking about وَجَّهْت, what is it, توجيه? In Lugha Arabiya, when you say وَجَّهْت, التوجيه is to direct. So when you say, I had directed my face, wait a minute, so why not my shoulders? Because of the face actually contains your sight, your tongue, your smell, and certainly your ears. That's what contains your face. In other words, the senses that you would relate with the world, and you would relate with sin, and you would relate with good deeds. And if you were to look at the anatomy of a human being, the front part contains almost everything. The back part looks like a blank sheet of paper. It's blank. Look at the back, a blank. The bottom, the back, it's blank, 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 blank. Everything is in the front. So that's al-wajh. Al-wajh is basically the face of something. It's basically what is in the appearance, what contains all the different things that are useful, or what basically contains the tools to relate to the world, to relate to everything. لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. I turn my face, in other words, with all my senses. That's the key. I turn my face with all my senses, with all my powers, with all my focus, because that's where everything is in. It's in your face. So the face is not necessarily the dimension of a face where your jaw and your skull, that piece of it. But al-wajh is basically what is in the front. Okay? What is in the front? لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. To the one that had created. Does it actually say the one who brought forth? Yeah, that's a better translation than my translation. Who had brought forth. When you say brought forth, means created it from nothing. Brought forth what? As-samawati wal-ard. As-samawat, the heavens, and the earth. Hanifa. That's a key word. What is al-hanif? Now, two things. Al-hanif can mean a person that's on a straight line. And al-hanif could be a person that is, when we say in Lugha Arabiya, a person that is ahnaf. Al-ahnaf is a person that has bow legs. So wait a minute. What do the bow legs have to do with any of this? So when you are hanif, you're basically taking a different path. A different path than who? Wait a minute. So how is Prophet Ibrahim a hanif? Well, he's a hanif because certainly he's only worshipping one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one deity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he's also taking a different path from the rest of the people. The rest of the people that had gone astray, he basically went away from their path. To go from their path is to go in a straight path. In other words, he's not the one that was crooked. They were the ones that were crooked. And when you see a crooked line and you're going away from it, you become a straight line. Okay? So think of it this way. It's like if everybody is going crooked and you're not going their crooked line, you're going to be going in a straight line. Okay? And when you look at Hanifa, meaning I would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in worshipping him alone. وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. So وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ would also explain the word Hanif. That I don't associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I would only believe in one deity almighty. Now, that actually takes me to the Hanifs during the time in Mecca. We only had 4. Okay, we had Qus ibn Sa'ad al-Iyadi, Abdullah ibn Jahsh, we had Amr, well, the father of Sa'id ibn Zayd, so that was Amr, what was his name? I forgot right now. It'll come. Just give me a second, inshallah. And there was Waraq ibn Nawfal. Okay, so you're looking at these 4 people. We don't really have a lot known to what words that they had said, But one particular one stands out, which is for Qis ibn Sa'd al-Iyadi. Qis ibn Sa'd al-Iyadi, there was an oration that I always loved. And he would say, يا معشر أيها الناس اسمعوا وعوا إنه من عاش مات ومن مات فات وكل ما هو آت آت. I know it sounds like it's you're just hearing at and at. Maybe I can get it for you and translate it on the spot. And let's get that one out, okay? أيها الناس, I'll get it out for you. أيها الناس إنه من عاش مات ومن مات فات وكل ما هو آت آت.
Isn't that Arabic poetry?
It's an oration and not poetry. I know
Oh.
you're probably seeing it like a stanza, and that's
No,
why
you said this before in class.
right. I did say it before. So when you're looking at, we don't necessarily have like an authentic narration for it, okay? But of course, just to remember that piece of it. Hold on, maybe I could actually say it. I hope I can find it just for you, but if not, I'll say it out of my own memory. Okay, here we go. So أيها الناس, let's use it right there. Okay. أيها الناس اسمعوا وعوا. O people, listen and comprehend. Whoever had lived will eventually die. And whoever had died had long gone, and all will come back. Why? Because he's seen the patterns as a night with dark nights and daylight with bringing in sedge. It's like bringing in those rays in a sky that has all the different, kind of like zodiacs, and you could see that there are certain patterns in the skies, and you could see those stars basically having some kind of a pattern, and that basically is letting him get the inspiration that there is a pattern that he can see in nature that's telling him that there is a pattern even in their life, even in the purpose of their creation. There must be a purpose. وَبِحَارٌ تَسْخَرُ. And same thing, when you would see these vast seas and oceans, they would bring a wave after a wave after a wave. You could see a pattern right there with the mountains basically standing long high, and you could see the earth being at least, whether it's in a sphere or whether it's basically something that you're capable of walking on. And you could see all those rivers basically taking a certain flow, and you could see, he said, إِنَّ فِي السَّمَاءِ لَخَبَرًا. There is, إِنَّ فِي السَّمَاءِ لَخَبَرًا, there is some news. There is something to listen to in the heavens. There's something that we must listen to. And وَإِنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ لَعِبَرًا, and on earth, there are many signs and many lessons to learn. What happens to all the people? They would long go, and they would never come back. Did they just love staying there? Or were they left there to just take a long nap? And then he would say, by Allah, there is a religion that is better than yours, and a religion that is better than what you're practicing, for you are practicing nothing but wronghood. And then he would say, Ya ma'ashara Iyad, O the people of Iyad, which is his tribe, where are our forefathers and where are our great-grandfathers, and where are the magnificent and the mighty pharaohs? Didn't they have more money and longer lives than us? What happened? Did they just perish and just go, and they couldn't come back, or what happened? And then he says, that's the poetry. And he said, في الذاهبين الأولين من القرون لنا بصائر لما رأيت مواردا للموت ليس لها مصادر ورأيت قومي نحوها تمضي الأكابر والأصاغر لا يرجع الماضي إلي ولا من الباقين غابر أيقنت أني لا محالة حيث صار القوم صائر.
Allah, Allah.
He said, what we could see from those that had basically went and long gone throughout the centuries, throughout the ages, are many lessons to learn. When I had seen a place of death where I would know not where the source of it is coming from. I don't know where the source is coming from. And I would see from my people the magnificent and those that are young and those that did not have those privileges would also die. لا يرجع الماضي إلي. The past is not coming back to me. And it's not at all going to be just left as a past and that's it. No, I just came to certainty that for sure, wherever they had gone, I will also face my death one day, and I would face my decree one day. This is basically just him. So he's one of those ahnaf, okay, one of those Hanis, but then, of course, did Qissa ibn Sa'd al-Iyadi make it to believing in the Prophet? Well, I mean, there's so many different stories, so I'm not going to stay with Qissa ibn Sa'd al-Iyadi, but we'll just at least speak about وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, and I'm not amongst those that had associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, how does that happen? So this is in terms of Aqidah. Okay.
Ya Allah. I just want to say it. Subhanallah.
Yep.
All these
So
not zikr only. Oh, aqidah.
it's Aqidah.
Yeah.
That's the importance. Everything about Aqidah is actually derived from Duaa.
Right.
If you really want to teach Aqidah, you really have to teach it by going back to the Duaa. The Du'as contain all the Aqidah.
Yeah.
That's what the du'as are for. It's really to connect you with that aqidah, to learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's within these du'as.
Blending zikr and aqidah.
Absolutely. So when it says وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, in terms of recognizing the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He's the creator of the heavens and the earth. But then in application, remember, in terms of Tawheed, you have recognizing the essence, then you have recognizing worship. Okay, now we're going to the worship. Inna salati, my prayer, wa nusuki, my sacrifice. Well, in nusuk is not only sacrifice. In nusuk, it can be exclusive to meaning the sacrifice. It could also mean any ritual that you would do. Any ritual that you would do, that's a nusuk. So manasik al-hajj wal-umrah, the different rituals that you would do. And of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِن تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. All the different sha'air, all the different nusuk, all the different basically places of worship. If you were to embrace that, you were to glorify that, that basically reflects the taqwa within the heart and what it contained.
Anything we do it also is ibadah. لِيَعْبُدُونَ.
Absolutely, that's nusuk.
Ya subhanallah. It's tawheed rububiyyah, tawheed uluhiyyah.
Exactly. Mahyaya is my life. So my prayer, my ritual, my life, and my death. Wait a minute. So if I'm dead, it's not like I'm controlling anything. But no, that my life and everything that I would do during my life and everything that basically when even my ending and what I live towards, which would mark the ending and what basically would, hey, if you're living on khair, you're most likely going to be on khair and dine on that. If you're a person that's going and basically engaging in haram, your ending is most likely gearing towards that end. So when you say وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ, in other words, from my life to my death, from the starting point to the end point, I would designate it to the Lord Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. From the beginning to the end. لا شريك له. Returning again. I don't associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I want you to look at this one because every time it would take you for worship, it would bring you back to recognizing the essence because the worship itself, in order for it to be, remember when we used Al-Hakim al-Tirmidhi, and when he said you would not really know the essence of ibadah, or you would not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you did not know the essence of ibadah, right? You would not get there. In order to get to knowing Allah, you would need to get to knowing how to submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's going to lead you to recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت. And I was ordered in that. Therefore, I basically take what? I basically take al-wahi as my place of guidance. I would take Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as basically my purpose, and al-wahi as the direction to basically give me the guidance and the mentorship on what I should be doing. What am I supposed to be doing? وَأَنَا مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And I am from the Muslims, from those that would submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you could say like, وَبِذَلِكَ أُمِرْتُ. What were you ordered? Well, وَأَنَا مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. I take the wahi, and therefore I'm submitting myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the way that I would submit, Allahumma anta al-malik la ilaha illa ant. Ya Allah, you are the one in sovereignty. You are the king. You are the sovereign. You are the one in authority. You are the keeper of everything. La ilaha illa ant. There's no God worthy of worship but you. Anta Rabbi. You are my Lord. I want
Can
to
I
remember.
ask you just one question?
Go ahead.
Because I'm so tired, I can't open my eyes anymore. The wasir, wasir,
What are you struggling with, Noura?
that word, wasrif.
What are you looking here, Noura?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
you're
the
the
third,
sovereign.
no. بالعربي. The
بالعربي
first word on the
وجهت
third
وجهي.
line. لا لا
Okay,
لا لا
the
لا.
محياي.
wasrif.
واصرف.
واصرف. وين هي؟
What does that
واصرف.
mean?
طب انت نطيتي هون كيف يا نورا؟ We're still here.
بس أنا تعبانة.
انت تعبانة؟ طب روحي نامي. خلينا.
No,
انت
I just want to know what that word
واصرف
means.
means keep away.
Keep awake. جزاك الله خير.
Okay.
Yeah.
اللهم أنت الملك لا إله إلا
هذا
أنت. حبيبة قلبي. يا
تصبح.
الله. I'll make it short. خلاص, I'll make it short and we'll read it tomorrow. inshallah. أنت ربي وأنا عبدك. You are my Lord and I am your servant. ظلمت نفسي. I had oppressed myself. واعترفت بذنبي. And I confess in my sins. فاغفر لي ذنوبي. So forgive me my sins and all my sins. For no one is capable to forgive the sins but you. And guide me to the best of the manners. For no one guides to the best of it except you. What is al-khuluq? So al-khuluq is different than khalq. Because al-khuluq is the inner morality. It's the inside of you. And what's inside of you would basically appear on the outside. If you're a good heart, that will basically appear on the outside.
Is it الضمير؟
What was that?
الضمير، الأخلاق، الخلق.
Yeah, you could use that. I mean, conscience is conscience, they would use it differently, but yeah, it basically is meaning the same thing. But al-akhlaq in لغة عربية,
The way you were created.
Right. So al-khuluq is different than al-khalq. Al-khalq is the outside appearance, al-khuluq is the inside appearance.
Okay, جزاك الله.
Huh? So al-khalq is the outside appearance. Hey, you're blonde, you're blue-eyed, you're black hair, and whatever it is. Okay. But al-khuluq is, what are you on the inside? Kind, loving, mean, innocent, whatever it is, all these different things. That's al-khuluq. Okay. So al-khuluq, that's why we would make the dua, wahdini li ahsan al-akhlaq. Ya Allah, and guide me to the best of akhlaq. Why guide me to the best of akhlaq? Because إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنظُرُ إِلَىٰ صَوَرِكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look at your appearance because He's the one that created it. So you deserve no credit for the appearance. But you do deserve credit if you were to invest in changing your morality, mannerisms. Why? Because it takes a lot of effort to correct that. Al-Hasan al-Basri used to say, it took me 40 years to correct my nafs until it basically had succumbed to my mentorship and my direction. It would overcome me every single time. It would win me. So when you say, وَهْدِنِي لِأَحْسَنِ الْأَخْلَاقِ, Ya Allah, guide me to the best of the mannerisms. And here's the thing, especially for those that may be struggling to probably figure out, maybe they lack social skills, and they probably sometimes don't know whether this is the best of the manners or not. Mom comes in to say, this is not appropriate, this is uquq, this is not right, etc. Mom comes in to correct here and there, and it becomes really, what is the word that I could use? It becomes just too much. It becomes like, okay, I've got too many mistakes then. And of course, no one wants to feel that they have a lot of mistakes, because to completely feel that you're guilty in everything and you can't do anything right, it definitely discourages you. It discourages you to feel that I've got everything wrong. So that's why you would just say, Ya Allah, ihdini li ahsan al-akhlaq. Ya Allah, guide me to the best of manners, because I definitely can sometimes fail to recognize what it means to have the akhlaq, and sometimes I fail to even have the courage to stay within akhlaq, and I would get off path. So, Ya Allah, لا يهدي لأحسنها إلا أنت. I've got my weaknesses, I've got my shortcomings, I'm trying. Sometimes I can't even tell where the good khuluq is at, and sometimes I don't know how to stay connected with it, and sometimes I get lost and I get away from it, and certainly maybe I'm a new Muslim, I'm trying to learn, but then everybody knows even more, and I'm a new Muslim, and everybody, and even young kids, probably have a better hang of how to practice their Islam, and I'm struggling, or probably had
Not even new Muslims, just anybody.
Even, I always say this, Noura, even those that were born Muslim, they had to, just like Ibn Taymiyyah had said, I renew my Islam every single day. So keep that in mind. I renew my Islam every single day, and keep that in mind. So even if you were born Muslim, even if you had a PhD in Islamic studies, it doesn't mean that you had completed your Islam. Having ilm is one thing, and having the application is another thing. That's why we would make the dua. Making the dua, the Prophet ﷺ was even making the dua and saying, Allahumma inni as'aluka fi'la al-khayrat. Ya Allah, I ask you to give me the power to do what is good. Wa tark al-munkarat, and leave what is bad.
And
so when you say, wahdini li ahsan al-akhlaq, and guide me to the best of al-akhlaq, la yahdi li ahsaniha illa ant. No one guides to the best of it except you. وَاصْرِفْ عَنِّي سَيِّئَهَا, and keep the worst of the manners, the worst of behaviors, the worst of characters away from me. لَا يَصْرِفُ عَنِّي سَيِّئَهَا إِلَّا أَنْتَ. No one takes it away from me except you. لَبَّيْكَ وَسَعْدَيْكَ. What is لَبَّيْكَ? Labbaik actually means I am here to answer the call that you had put, and when you say sa'daik, like I'm happy, and I'm here coming in, not as, yes, I'm forcing myself, but I'm actually so happy and so content to even come in. It's not that I'm forced to wear hijab. No, labbaik wa sa'daik. I'm happily wearing it. I'm not forced to make the salah only, but labbaik wa sa'daik. I want you to be happy, and I'm coming in with all the happiness to even come in to perform this, not as a forced person, but also as a person that really wants to do it. So, labbaik wa sa'daik, different opinions. Is it asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is it saying that you want and you only care about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have basically the content over you, or is it you yourself coming in and happily and with content coming in to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Different opinions and different interpretations. وَالْخَيْرُ كُلُّهُ بِيَدَيْكَ, and all the good is in your hands. وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ, and I would never attribute evil to you. Why? Why would I not attribute? But we already know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, min sharri ma khalaq. Here, even the ayah saying, min sharri ma khalaq, from the evils. I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qul a'udhu bi rabbil falaq. And then min sharri ma khalaq, there you go. I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils that He created. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not create absolute evil. But some of the things that He had created might have some different wrong things that might happen to you. For example, maybe an earthquake. Earthquake happens, a disease happens, and you happen to be one of those victims. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not create absolute evil. Okay? So, but from the adab, from the etiquette in relating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would say, وَالشَّرُّ لَيْسَ إِلَيْكَ. I would never attribute evil that you are the cause of it. I would never attribute evil that you caused it. أَنَا بِكَ وَإِلَيْكَ. I am what? I exist by your will. أَنَا بِكَ. I am. In other words, by your will existing. Therefore, وَإِلَيْكَ. And my return is to you. تَبَارَكْتَ وَتَعَالَيْتَ. You are the one that basically has all the blessings, that gives the blessings, that is the center of all the good. وَتَعَالَيْتَ. And all the magnificence is to you. أَسْتَغْفِرُكَ وَأَتُوبُ إِلَيْكَ. I seek your forgiveness and I repent to you. So, Noura, because you're so tired and because everybody is tired.
Yeah, but I just want to know. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Noura.
اللهم فعل خيرات و
ترك المنكرات.
What is it?
ترك المنكرات.
I'll get it for you.
يسألك
Allahumma
فعل
inni as'aluka. Allahumma, hold on.
ترك
Inni as'aluka fi'l al-khayrat. Okay, I'll get it for you. Okay, here we go. And here's the hadith. Okay.
أنا ما أعرف الطريقة.
Give you something. Here we go. We'll make it a nice image. Okay.
Yeah, we can memorize it. Yeah.
There you go. Make it something that is clear. Here we go. This is it. How about that? Allahumma inni as'aluka fi'l al-khayrat وترك المنكرات وحب المساكين وإذا أردت بعبادك فتنة فاقبضني إليك غير مفتون. Now this extra right here, well, not extra, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, and if you will, or you decreed to your servants any fitna, any trial, then take me to you. In other words, bring death to me, for me to you, but غير مفتون, when I was not inflicted with the fitna that you had decreed.
Okay. Just sorry.
It's
So,
okay. You know what I'll do? Here we go.
All this dua is like depending upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يعني rely on Allah in everything. That means no way to say that tie the camel, then ask Allah, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's only ask Allah without tying the camel.
Absolutely. So, Allahumma inni as'aluka fi'l. It's like you gotta invest in this. Ya Allah, you're also asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, I ask you to grant me the ability to do what is good and leave what is wrong, love the needy, and if you will or you decree the servants of any trial, then take me to you. فَقْبِضْنِي. Al-qabd is basically to take, to grab, غَيْرَ مَفْتُونٍ, and without me being inflicted with.
Without fitna.
Yep.
أنا بك وإليك, does it mean إن لله وإنا إليه راجعون?
It contains the same meaning, absolutely. It contains the same meaning. أنا بك وإليك إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. That was the first thing that occurred to me while I was saying it, but I'm trying to make the story short because Noura is tired. And
Yeah,
so
yeah. One more
Sorry,
thing,
no,
please.
no, that's okay. I'll go. You guys continue.
One more thing, please.
Okay, can I go? Okay,
Yeah,
somebody
go,
go.
Don't worry, go.
Yeah, one more thing, please. You mentioned something about Hassan al-Basri. He said what? I didn't understand it because it's in English.
قومت نفسي. He used to say قومت نفسي 40 سنة حتى استقامت لي. Took me 40 years to direct and mentor my nafs until it obeyed me. In other words, it was fighting and trying to restrict and trying to basically overcome any type of correctness that I might give it.
Ya Allah.
Or our nafs, it's like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why? Because it was happy with whatever it is in. So, now mind you, Al-Hasan al-Basri, his nanny was Salama.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just amazing. Imagine having your nanny as the Prophet's wife.
Yeah, and he's the first tabi'i study on Abu Huraira.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is it. Inshallah, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. We'll see you all inshallah tomorrow.
طب إذا نحن بدنا ننام